a new poll. It shows a majority of Democrat voters believe their lawmakers in Congress are not doing enough to stand up to Trump. Basically, they're saying do something to Democrats. Here with us is former Ohio State Democratic Senator and senior fellow at the Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy at the New School, Nina Turner, and former Hartford, Connecticut mayor and delegate to the Democratic National Convention, Luke Bronin. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining.
Morning, Hena.
All right, so I think it's safe to say it appears Democrats are failing to coalesce. He's making headlines daily on issues, federal layoffs, budget cuts, stopping illegal immigration, and more. Nina, what are Democrats failing to do right now to win this political discourse, to change the conversation?
Well, we shouldn't have been here in the first place, but here we are. First of all, you can't have leaders going out saying they can do nothing. And when you have the leader of the House of Representatives on the Democratic side, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, saying they have no leverage, you've already given up and conceded. Yes, that polling is absolutely correct. I hear it everywhere that I go, that Democrats are, in fact, upset, not only with Democratic leadership, but with the Democratic Party itself. You know, President Biden, on his way out, he warned that the oligarchs were going to take over. Now, he was a little late in saying that, but he is, in fact, right. And the Democratic Party has the opportunity in this moment to, first of all, do a complete autopsy and accept the results that we failed. We didn't answer to the pain points of the people, and that we are going to be bold and stop trying to be Republican light. But you cannot, as leaders, stand up and tell Democrats and Americans there is nothing that we can do. Because, Hena, if they're saying they can't do anything, then what about the big mamas and the big papas all over this country who are suffering if leaders with special titles say that they can't do anything? It's weak, it's sad, and those leaders actually need to go. You cannot have the same leaders that got the Democratic Party in this mess standing up before the American people saying we're weak as hell, because that's basically what they're saying.
Some of those leaders include Chuck Schumer. You mentioned Hakeem Jeffries. Their attempt to be the face of Democrats pushing back against Trump. But Luke, I have to ask, are they doing enough?
Look, what I would say is the Democratic Party is not a few people in elected positions. The Democratic Party is tens of millions of people, and we all need to be shouldering this burden. And what that means is, I think, shining a big, bright light on the fact that Donald Trump might have gotten elected 3 months ago, but a month in, he's already way out of step with where I think most Americans want to be. You know, most Americans don't want to have health care cut so that we can extend tax cuts for the wealthy. Most Americans don't want Elon Musk messing around with Social Security and firing air traffic controllers. Most Americans don't want to see us stab Ukraine in the back and get into bed with Vladimir Putin, whose best friends are China and North Korea. And we need to shine a light on that. Every single Democrat. We need to be talking to people who don't already agree with us and saying, is this really what you signed up for? Is this really what you want? And then saying, what we want to be talking about is, how do we make child care more affordable in this country? How do we make government more effective and more efficient, but do it in a responsible way that doesn't put, the safety of our nuclear weapons at risk? I think we've got a really strong message, and every single Democrat needs to see themselves as a messenger.
Many people were frustrated with how Kamala Harris was selected as nominee. Nina, you and I have talked about this so much. Stephen A. Smith expressed a similar concern. He pointed out it was not just an issue this last election, but it's been going on for years. Let's take a listen. And Luke, I want to talk to you on the other side.
The last Democrat that the American people told you they wanted was Barack Obama. Bernie Sanders had momentum. It's Hillary's turn. Joe Biden captured momentum because Representative Clyburn got involved in South Carolina, saved his behind, but it's really his turn. Then he goes on the debate stage, embarrasses himself. Then y'all still let him take 3 damn weeks to walk away instead of getting the hell out there immediately so you can see if there's somebody other than Kamala Harris who could be the Democratic nominee.
Luke, you were talking a lot about Republicans as a delegate to the DNC last year. What's your reaction to what Stephen said? A lot of people agree with him on this.
Look, what I would say is, I don't think it's helpful to spend all that time looking back. Looking ahead, the future of the Democratic Party and the Democratic message is not going to get decided by a bunch of people sitting around a conference room with a whiteboard. It's going to get decided by competitive primaries where you've got different visions and different voices battling it out to lead this party. It's going to be that case in 2026 around the country, and it's going to be the case in the presidential primaries in 2028. And that's exactly what we need. That's healthy. And I think that's going to help rejuvenate the party. And out of that process, a lot of strong, powerful voices are going to emerge, and I'm excited about that as a Democrat.
Nina, many Democrats do feel that the party is out of touch. You've said the future of the party should be working class people. What should Democrats do going forward to win back that voting bloc specifically?
Tell the American people we were wrong, we messed up. We see you now, we understand you. The Democratic Party must answer to the needs of the people.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.